never want a serious crisis to go to waste.
If I could have gotten 51 votes in the Senate of the United States for an outright ban, picking up every one of them, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in, I would have done it.
I have 2 words for you: predator drones. You will never see it coming.
It's time for On Target Radio, Chicagoland's only radio show dedicated to the red meat issues that affect your life, from gun control to freedom of speech. Now, debating, debunking, and discussing today's hot issues. Here are your hosts, David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz.
Welcome to On Target Radio. Tonight, David and Gretchen's guests are Cedra Crenshaw and Lisa Reidinger. Cedra and Lisa are co-leaders of Protect Children, Preserve Freedom, a grassroots organization of parents and concerned citizens who advocate for policies that protect the safety, privacy, and dignity of all students. Tonight's topic is the public school transgender accommodations policy. All that and more on tonight's On Target Radio. So be sure to give us a call at 312-642-5600 or go to Facebook and like our page, On Target Radio, and ask a question there.
And now, from the seething cauldron of personal opinion, it's time for David's Rant of the Week.
My immigrant father taught me to love this country and to be a good citizen. I took that to heart. And 50 years ago tomorrow, I took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States when I joined the Army and I volunteered to go to Vietnam. It would be the first of 5 times I would take that oath, including more stints in the military and law enforcement. In each case, I strongly felt it was the right thing to do. To this day, I try to be a good citizen, but it's increasingly obvious that like-minded people are in the minority in this country, and that would be a dramatic understatement. Progressivism isn't new. It began in 1890 in response to the economic and social problems rapid industrialization introduced to America. Progressivism began as a social movement and grew into a political movement. Increasingly over the decades, progressivism became anti-American to the point progressives began blaming America, and particularly white Americans, for all the world's problems. The zenith of that corrupt point of view was progressives suggesting the United States deserved the September 11th terrorist attack. I believe the most significant perpetrator of the problems we see in America today can be laid at the feet of President Lyndon Johnson's Great Society and its goal to eliminate poverty and racial injustice. No right-minded person would disagree with the intent, but as they say, the devil is in the details. Once you give people free stuff, they begin to see it as their right, and it goes downhill quickly. Today we have a vast entitlement class that's intentionally trying to disintegrate the very fabric of American culture. Feel good is the god of progressivism. Individual rights, its battle cry. But individual rights insofar as they support the progressive movement and middle-class Americans of any color or creed clearly do not fit that description. Progressivism has changed the meaning of words, outlined what we're allowed to say, and even think, to the point saying one single wrong word can ruin a career. It has made us dependent upon federal money to sustain virtually every aspect of our lives, and has directly attacked and taken over highly personal issues such as marriage, sexuality, religion, and now the most intimate of them all, privacy. It's pretty tough to shock me, but I admit I was truly taken aback with a news feed I received earlier this week from the Charlotte Observer. An editorial in a major print publication for a U.S. city said, and I quote, "Girls must overcome discomfort at seeing male genitals in locker rooms," unquote. It went on to counsel young girls to get over the discomfort they feel at the sight of male genitalia when transgendered facilities are allowed in North Carolina. The editorial went on to say, this is what the Obama administration is nudging the rest of the country toward. Nudging? What alternative universe does this sociopath live in? This is dropping a sociological thermonuclear device on the American family. Today, one's gender is irrelevant, even oppressive. All that matters is what one feels like. I was astounded that the Chicago public school system has implemented a policy in which merely feeling like you should be a female is reason enough for boys to use the girls' restrooms and shower in their locker rooms. Yet that pales in comparison to the announcement that it also applies to field trips. A 40-year-old male teacher who feels as if he should really be a female can share a hotel room on a field trip with his 14-year-old female student. What could possibly go wrong with that? 5 times I've taken the oath to defend the Constitution of the United States, the blueprint for the American way of life I grew up in. But I'll be damned if I can figure out exactly how to do it today. Pogo was way ahead of his time when he said, "We have met the enemy, and he is us." And that, Gretchen, is my rant for the week.
Yep, the whole thing's out of control. That's why we're talking to Cedra and Lisa tonight.
That was a good segue. That's very good.
You like that?
So, how are we going to do this? How can we possibly turn the tide? This is like an experiment, social experiment in schools.
Well, thank you so much for having us. We believe that all children's safety and privacy matters. And so we're solutions oriented. And so schools have a duty to protect the privacy, the safety, and the dignity of every student, as well as the rights of parents to protect their children. And so some solutions, number one, we at our own school district, we have been promoting the Alliance Defending Freedom's model student privacy policy, as well as House Bill 4474, the Pupil Physical Privacy Act. And both of those measures would accommodate any child that is struggling with their gender identity, as well as respecting the rights and the privacy and the safety of all the other students. So we can accommodate any child that is struggling with their gender identity, as well as protecting the rights of all the other students.
You're listening to Talk Radio. This is AM560 The Answer. Give us a call, 312-642-5600. 312-642-5600. Here's the thing. One of the things I said the very first time this came up, it was probably a month ago now, maybe.
Something like that.
Where are the fathers? If I had a daughter, I'd go berserk. I really would. I mean, I would go. I'm not seeing this stuff. I'm not seeing the backlash. Now, some states are. We begin to see some states are saying that. But what are you finding? And what district you're in?
We're in Glen Ellen District, High School District 87.
Oh, 87.
Yes, we're not in District 211. We're not speaking for District 211 parents. We're in a different district. We've wondered the same thing ourselves. Where are the fathers? Yeah. Any good father or mother would never permit someone of the opposite sex to enter the bathroom at home with their teenage daughter when she's showering or taking care of business. But this is exactly what's happening in our public schools. This is unprecedented by President Obama. He's in effect put children in charge of the adults in our public schools. So the children are providing their own diagnosis of being transgender. They're providing their own treatment, which allows them to enter opposite-sex facilities, being called by opposite-sex pronouns, etc. And all of this can be kept secret from their parents.
I know. And
what could go wrong with this?
She belongs on the show. What could go wrong with that? You're right. It is literally out of control. And here's the thing. What are school boards thinking? Well, I'll tell you what they're thinking. Money. That's what they're thinking. Because the threat, this is not a law. No. The threat is they will cut off your federal funding, which goes back to what I've said on this show and we've talked about many times. The biggest mistake people have made is taking federal money for anything. You got to learn to live within your means. Yeah. We shouldn't at all. Now we have this octopus, this monster. I don't know how you slay it.
Well, and also it's only 9 cents to $1. So that if federal funding, if they would even take it away, which is a big if, it's 9 cents per dollar that the federal government actually, pays school districts. But, really, if Obama decides to take away the funding, it's really going to be the disadvantaged children who are going to be affected. So it's going to affect the free
lunch programs,
right, or after-school programs. So, I mean, clearly he has an agenda, and clearly he doesn't care about the students. And I just think it's ridiculous that you have, like we were talking about before, you have 0.3% of the population. Their feelings matter, but the feelings of 97 or 99.7% of the other students or just the population, they don't matter at all. And there's something really wrong and really sick about that, to be quite honest with you.
Well, has that not been really pervasive of this administration?
Yes.
They literally are driving. Look at race relations.
Right.
Not that things were fabulous,
Right.
but they were progressively getting better. Now, they're shooting cops in the back of the head,
Right.
pumping gas. I mean, it's totally out of control.
Yes.
And you can lay that at the feet of the White House. I mean, it's very clear where that came from.
Yep.
I don't know how you turn it around. We're going to solve this completely when we come back from the break, right?
In the next
Right.
hour, it's going to be finished.
That's
Yeah.
right. There's somebody on the phone who's probably calling for me to be fired. But we are going to take a break. And
Joke's on them.
That's right. And when we come back, we're going to talk about there's a fight going on in the courtrooms. And so we definitely want to hit on that. Some states are rebelling, and we have a local here, 211 is involved in a court battle. So all that and more with On Target Radio when we return. And you're listening to AM560, The Answer. Did you like that?
Too much peanut butter in your sandwich.
We'll come back with On Target Radio.
No, great.
I've only said that like 5,000 times. Why should I?
Yeah.
I got a green light. Something's
When we
up.
get back around to...
Something's up. John,
Lucy from Indiana.
do we know her?
No, but he sounds like a guy.
I was
As
wondering
a
why you didn't put
comment-
anything on the screen.
Well, that's because my computer's frozen.
Oh, okay.
So it's restarting
So
right
we
Just
got
in
one.
time.
You reeled one in?
No, Lucy's saying that he or she believes that President Obama's motives can be clarified by recognizing that his wife is a she-male.
Well, now, you know the famous do not about...
Right.
No comment.
Yeah.
Right. So
Not going there. Not going there.
well,
entirely your
do you know
call.
what
Not going there.
That's host
Joan
prerogative.
Rivers, remember Joan Rivers?
That's he or she specifically refers to.
Do you remember that?
I remember.
Yeah.
She.
Well, I'm not so sure. Well, what do you think?
It's Lucy from Indiana. If you want her, call her.
I would say that you can let the caller say what they want to say and then just hang up on them. And
Thank you.
yeah,
You want it? Should we take it?
it's up to you. It's up to you.
Okay.
But I don't want to have a conversation. Is what I'm saying.
Can't go anywhere near.
Okay, we're going to take a vote. Vote by show of hands. Should we let Lucy, sort of, on the show? All in favor say aye. Well, Lucy just bit the dust.
That would be a no.
That's a different show.
Yeah.
Well, but I could have worn a skirt.
You could watch it.
I could have worn a skirt.
He
I had nice
was arguing with me the other day that a kilt is not a skirt. I'm like, it's
a kilt is not a skirt.
like,
It's
no,
a Scotsman's dress. Lassie, it's a Scotsman's dress. It's not a skirt. And it's from
I
the
do
days of
love-
battle with
It's
a broad
just
sword.
short, right?
They
Very
needed
short,
room.
flared pants.
Exactly. Big flare.
But there-
Really big
with
flare.
only one leg hole. I'm like, no, there is no difference between a kilt and a skirt.
It's a skirt that identifies as pants.
Yes, that
Just gotta give it the
identifies
pink. Give it the
as a
pink.
Scottish man's pants. Yes.
You know, when I was in Dubai, I went to the thing and they gave me the dishdashi to wear. I told you that story, haven't I?
I think so.
I interviewed Sheikh Abdullah Duwaki Thingamabobby, whatever, for the magazine, and I said, I got to ask you the question that we ask Scotsmen. And the question is, what do you wear under that? And he said, I'm having a party tonight. Would you like to come? And I go, okay. And he goes, you'll find out.
Jack Tabota of Tabota & Associates can help you with your retirement game plan. You know Jack, or you should. Jack is the president and founder of Tabota & Associates. He's been helping folks just like you retire successfully for 3 decades. Jack has the insight, information, strategies, and experience you can use to build wealth and keep it. Live good. Retire well with Jack Tabota of Tabota & Associates. 630-777-7955. 630-777-7955.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM560 The Answer with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
Over half a century ago, a respected firearms store opened. It started as a hobby for Mike Schrank and has now served generations of customers. Schrank's Smoke and Gun retains a family atmosphere and now carries the largest selection of new, used, and consignment firearms in Lake County. From pistols, rifles, and shotguns to hard-to-find calibers, collectibles, and older functioning hunting rifles. You'll also find full gunsmith services from simple detail cleaning to complete rebuilds. Whether you're thinking about your first firearm and a FOID card or looking to add to your collection, visit Schrank's Smoke and Gun. If you have a firearm to sell, their recent sale was so successful they need your firearms. And if you love cigars, like I do, you'll find your favorites in Schrank's humidors, along with a broad selection of pipes and tobacco. Visit smoke, the letter N, gun.org or call 847-662-4034. Schrank Smoke and Gun in Waukegan, your family-owned gun store since 1964. That's 847-662-4034. And smoke a cigar for me. We're talking this evening about the policies of transgendered bathrooms, and our guests this evening are Cedric Crenshaw and Lisa Reidinger. And we're going to solve all the problems right now, right? We're going to talk about, there's a fight going on in the courts. What can you tell us about that?
District 211 in Palatine, some of the students and parents there have filed a lawsuit against the district as well as the Department of Education, Department of Justice, because the students there, they're having their privacy violated, among other violations that are taking place. And so we'll have to see how that plays out in the courts, but anyone who claims that, oh no, children aren't being forced into these intimate spaces, into restrooms and locker rooms, no, they have accommodations, that's simply not true. And it's borne out by the statements of fact contained in the lawsuit itself. Anyone can access the lawsuit on the internet. The Alliance Defending Freedom, it's on their website. You can read it for yourself. Very great reading, and you can see for yourself how shocking the violations really are.
There are states that are fighting back. Several states actually now are saying it. And one of the options that has come up on what to do about this, because this is not a law, the most common one that members of Congress are saying is just ignore it. I mean, technically, how can they enforce it? The only threat they have is they'll withhold the money. And as you point out, that could be a really serious problem come with an election coming up. The Democrats could really get tarred and feathered with that one, which I think would be great personally. But you see, there's that catch-22. I'm just not sure Obama cares.
I don't think so either. This is another really interesting fact to know about Title IX, which the Obama administration has misinterpreted. Senator Al Franken, since 2011, has repeatedly introduced legislation, model legislation, which would include gender identity as one of the protected classes, similar to how Title IX protects biological sex. Every year it's failed.
Yeah.
Every year.
Right.
So Obama doesn't care about our legislative process. He has decreed this on our nation. So the only thing we can do is resist.
Well, you know, since Gretchen joined the show, I used to be the kind of hard right guy. Now we have Gretchen, and Gretchen is like way off on the far edge, and I seem to be the more moderate one. I even though I've been military, even though I've been a cop, all that kind of stuff, I do feel for anybody, whatever the situation is, that genuinely feels that they're put upon or slighted upon or whatever. I get that. I really do. The key thing in this issue is schools who said, you know what, here's how we'll solve it. We'll have a third place. They didn't want it. They want to go in the girls' thing. And you don't hear a whole lot of girls wanting to go into the boys' one. Okay? I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but you don't hear much about that. It's always the guys want to go in the girls' one.
Right.
And in Texas, we just had a situation last week, as I recall, where the school kind of set up, they made little cubicles or whatever, so there was some privacy in there. And they caught a guy, did you see this question?
No.
He'd gotten on a stool and was looking over the top, watching a girl undress in the next thing. Is that predictable? Come on.
Yes.
You know.
I think it totally is, and it shows that school is the wrong place for social experiments. The American College of Pediatricians has stated that up to 98% of boys and up to 88% of the girls who experience these cross-gender feelings will lose them after puberty. So the overwhelming majority of these kids will be perfectly fine as their biological sex. Why would anyone usher them into this type of a lifestyle. And the American College of Pediatricians, they've also said that conditioning children into believing a lifetime of chemical and surgical impersonation of the opposite sex is child abuse.
Well, I hadn't thought of that, but I mean, that's a good point.
Yeah, I saw that.
There's other experts too. There's Dr. Kenneth Zucker. So he's a very highly respected sexual and gender identity researcher and scientist. And he actually believes that we should encourage kids to accept their gender, their biological sex. And then once they're 18, if they want to explore that, then that's something totally different. And Dr. Zucker is hardly a fringe researcher or therapist. He actually, for the American Psychiatric Association, the DSM-5, which is the Bible, if you will, of for the psychological and counseling professions, he was tapped by the APA to head up their sexual and gender identity disorders work group for the DSM-5. And he himself is saying we need to wait. We need to encourage these kids to accept their biological sex. There's also Dr. Eric Villain, who is from UCLA, and then Dr. Bailey from here at Northwestern University. And I'm going to quote, "Banning all therapy to alleviate gender dysphoria would be a triumph of ideology over science."
Or logic.
Well, that
Right.
true. That
Yeah.
right. And so basically, though, they said, and a lot of the other experts say, nobody agrees on what to do with these children or even these adults. And in fact, the Belgrade Center for the Genital Reconstructive Surgery, they had in 2013 alone 1,500 requests for reversal. So 1,500. That's just one center in one place of the world. 1,500.
That's amazing. I had read an article that was written by a transgender man.
Is that Walt Heyer?
I don't remember. It might have been a man who wanted to be a woman for when he was younger, and went through with the sex change, and then later regretted it.
Yes.
And I was under the impression that was more the exception, but it sounds like it's really not.
Mm-hmm. No, we are familiar with Walt Heyer. Actually, he's a great guy. He has said that I don't know how many calls that he gets per week, or even per month, hundreds of people calling him, saying that he has a website, sexchangeregret.com.
I think it is.
Is that Walt?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, he's really made it his mission to try and save people. Because, the research shows that even once people transition, they still have a just as high of a rate of suicidal ideation, drug abuse, depression, everything. It doesn't go away.
It doesn't solve the problem.
It doesn't solve the problem. That's exactly right.
And I mean, that's the pith of the argument, because, I told you I did the doctorate program in counseling psych. The fact is, certain people are predisposed for whatever reason, and it's
Right.
not like they choose to be, but certain people are predisposed towards feelings that have enormous influence over the way they view life. And the problem is this, I'm, as an older guy, I grew up in a time when, we used to just say, buck up, now we say embrace the suck, but it's the same thing, it is what it is. And I'm really not making fun of people who think that. But the reality is, it is what it is. And you're right. When I did counseling, what I found out is the problem that people come to you with is seldom the real issue.
Right.
It's something else that is eating
Exactly.
away at them, and it's being manifested consciously or unconsciously. But when you look at it and you start to strip away all of the rhetoric and all of my mother said and all that, and you get down to the nugget is typically not what people come through the door for.
Exactly.
And as we say in our classes with concealed carry, the problem is you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And you find that sort of stuff out, and that's really the issue. And I feel badly for anybody that really does have these sorts of issues. But you can't take the rest of the population of the country
Right.
and make them suffer because you have those kinds of issues.
Right.
We're going to be back with more On Target Radio. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about what parents can do and so on and so forth. And we'll be back with more On Target Radio. And you're listening to AM560, The Answer.
We're so excited about our sold-out golf outing at the Bolingbrook Golf Club coming up on Thursday, June 16th to benefit Operation Support Our Troops America.
If you weren't able to get in this year, don't worry. You can still reserve a tee time at the Bolingbrook Golf Club anytime this spring or summer by visiting BolingbrookGolfClub.com.
And thanks to the sponsors who are making our golf outing possible.
Augustino's Rock and Roll Deli, Fox River Periodontics, Kyojo, Remax Professionals, Automated Systems Incorporated, and Pearl Mortgage.
Fox News Radio, I'm Jane Metzler. Police tracked down a suspected cop killer to an apartment in Oxford, Massachusetts, where they say he opened fire and a state police tactical team returned it.
The suspect, Jorge Zambrano, 35 years old, of Worcester, Massachusetts, and the trooper have been taken to UMass Memorial Hospital. The suspect is dead.
Worcester County DA Joe Early, the state trooper, expected to recover. Weather spotters confirming a half-mile-wide tornado in western Kansas near the town of Friend. Afghan and Taliban officials confirming reports that a U.S. drone strike took out Taliban leader Mullah Mansour in southwest Pakistan. Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson on Fox News Sunday.
The U.S. military took a strike. He was the target. And at this point, we're not quite prepared to confirm that he was killed, though it appears like.
You decide.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer from the North States Steel Traffic Center.
Taking a look at traffic on CTA's Blue Line, single tracking between Jeff Park and Irving Park until tomorrow morning at 4 a.m. That's all for construction on the Montrose Station. And over on the Green Line, no trains in either direction at all between Harlem and Lake and Laramie. Track construction there. They are offering shuttle bus service. That should also be done by tomorrow morning. Elsewhere, the Edens inbound and outbound delay free. Kennedy 22 in from O'Hare. You have a pocket Pulaski to Sacramento and coming off the 190 extension. It's going to be 11 minutes from Montrose. Outbound is 20 to O'Hare, and the Express are closed for overnight maintenance. On the Eisenhower, the ramp from southbound 53 getting onto the Ike jammed up with roadwork. No delays to that extension work in the left lane right at Mill. You're slowing from Racine to the Circle as well.
Ahead a little bit, so we're going to talk. The next subject is parents and schools looking for solution, but that's actually we're going into 3, which was going to be fighting back, and of course we already did it. Although
this one, I can talk about the students' voices.
Well, one of the things that is worth talking about is backlash. Did you hear what she found? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you were just talking to her. So maybe we should talk about that.
Well, before we do that, could we talk about the sex abuse victims?
About what?
Sex abuse victims, survivors. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, talk about anything you want.
Okay.
We can talk about you were scared to come on the radio show. And you're a shrink. That's really, you could look in the mirror and go, do you want to talk about this?
No,
Oh, you're a Rogerian too. Yes, have a seat.
Just carry around the expanding couch in a briefcase.
Yeah, exactly. My bills fall off.
Hat and leather.
It'll be $500.
So you want, that's right. It's indoor work, no heavy lifting. So what exactly do you want to talk about?
Well, one of the tactics that we have taken in other school districts as well, I think in the state, is that these policies have the potential to re-victimize sex abuse survivors. Sex abuse survivors suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, right?
Okay, so how do what am I going to say?
That's part of the social experimentation in the schools.
No, but specifically, what will I say about that? Is it
how students can be traumatized, how these policies.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Now, but having said that, this would be the perfect time to say we're going to do segment 6 and talk about what students say, or not. But that leads perfectly into one way or the other.
How much more time do
Well, now it gets short. Look at the time. This segment is going to be. This segment is going to be 6 minutes and 30 seconds with a rejoinder, and then the next one is going to be 7 minutes. What are we going into? What segment are we going into? It's 9:34.
We're going
into three. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, right.
The first couple minutes were lost on the recording of that because my computer was still restarted.
All right, let's do it. We're gonna do 6.
Yeah.
Let's do 6.
We're doing segment 6. We're doing segment 6, and it's going to be students' reaction. The words of the students.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So I'll ask what are the ramifications for students.
You can do that with
Just don't bring up what they say. Just
I'm bringing up just the sex abuse aspect of it.
This
Okay.
is how other students can be traumatized in ways
all
that
right.
people.
So and then I'll tease it and say
Right.
no,
wait
I
for
won't
more.
tease it.
So what is segment 6?
Segment 6 is going to be the voice of the students. How's that?
That's good.
I just came up with that off the top. The voice of the students. Oh wait, no, we'll get beeped.
Yep, stand by. You guys make it.
Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM560 The Answer with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
This segment is brought to you by the Will County Grassroots Division of the Illinois State Rifle Association. Join like-minded friends supporting the right to keep and bear arms in Illinois at 7 p.m. on the third Wednesday of the month at the Silver Dollar Restaurant in Elwood, Illinois.
You know, I keep inviting people to come to that and buy us dinner, and they don't.
Maybe if you dropped off the and buy us dinner part.
There's always that possibility. Life has consequences. You know what I'm saying? Speaking of consequences, is this a segue? Speaking of consequences, you know, we're talking about this sort of like the umbrella. We're up here, right? The students are down in the pit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's got to be a traumatic thing for a lot of, particularly at that age. Girls and boys, for that matter. Boys don't act like it, but they have whole self-esteem issues just like girls do. That's got to be very difficult.
Yeah, I think it is, and we'll talk more a little bit later about that, some of the specifics for that. But one main specific that I would like to bring up is that these sorts of policies have the capacity to re-victimize sex abuse survivors. And if you think about that, survivors are some of our most vulnerable population. I think that in Illinois, the Illinois Coalition Against Sexual Assault states that 1 in 4 girls will be sexually assaulted before the age of 18, and it's 1 in 6 for boys. So if you look at a district like our district, 87, which there's like 4,000, there's 8,000 total kids, 4,000 roughly are female students. So that's up to 1,000 girls in one little district alone that have been most likely have been sexually abused. So many of these survivors suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. That's a very serious disorder. And so for them to undress in front of or a biological male or to a biological male to see them undressing can trigger all sorts of traumatic flashbacks, feelings of suicide, despair, feelings of terror. So I guess our question is why are their stories not important too?
They don't fit the agenda.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to.
And no child should be forced into a restroom or a locker room or any intimate space with the child of the opposite sex. It wouldn't happen in your home. Why are we allowing this in the schools?
Or an adult of the opposite sex, which the Chicago public school system will let you do.
Right.
And speaking of,
Cedra and I had put together a bunch of different stories from sex abuse survivors. I want to read this one from Kaylee Triller-Haver. In discussing herself as a child, she states, "I hated that it took her another 10 years to figure out why she still slept with the light on and showered in her underwear and destroyed her teeth with gum she relentlessly chewed as a means of escaping the recollection of his breath on her face. Wake up, I wanted to scream at her. Can't you see what's going on? Do something about it. It's the same desperate inclination I'm fighting today, Everywhere I read, talk about another school adopting new locker room policies. Don't they know for a woman who has experienced sexual trauma, finding the courage to use a locker room at all is a freaking badge of honor? That many of these women view view life through the kaleidoscope of shame and suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. Why would people knowingly invite further exploitation by creating policies? Wake up, I want to scream. Can't you see what's going on? Do something about it.
You know, you work as a counselor, and I did for about a year or so when I was at the U of I. People, in this case, oversimplify this. They go, well, you know, it's this, that, you know, and it's easy to do that. The truth is, there are people who are really hurting over this stuff on both sides of this equation.
Right.
And I get that. It's the people who say, no, I don't want my own private place. I want to go in. That's the people, okay? You know, I get if you are uncomfortable in your own same-sex place. Okay, I understand that. Give them a private place. But it's this group. There's an agenda going on here. And this is all woven into the same thing, and I don't wear an aluminum foil hat, except on this show. I don't wear an aluminum foil hat because I hear voices. But if you look at it, this whole progressivism thing has been about literally disassembling the American way of life, and particularly the family unit.
Right.
Dramatically so. So we're going to solve this problem, too, when we come back. I know we are. But we do have to take a break. I don't know how you solve this. I really don't. The harm, I think, is done. And how you unweave this, and we'll kick around some things, what the consequences are. But this is not as simple as people want to say. We just got to stop that. It's not that simple. Anyway, we'll talk about that when we return. And we'll be back with more on Target Radio. You're listening to AM560.
The Answer.
With it, but I don't know. And here's the thing that does bother me. The administration keeps saying, well, this is like civil rights. You know, it's about blacks not being able to go in the lunchroom. No, it's not. They can go to a John.
Right.
It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. In fact, nobody knew it. You know, if you felt uncomfortable in the boys' room, you didn't tell anybody. I didn't know the guy next to me felt uncomfortable in the boys' room. That's not the same thing.
It's a behavior.
Exactly.
Being black is an immutable fact.
Right.
Being lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender is a behavior. And this shouldn't be happening in the schools because, like the American College of Pediatricians stated, this is conditioning. It's conditioning the other kids to think that this is okay, and that is not right.
Well, and this administration has literally taken religion. God comes out of schools. Social normative man-wife family units. That's out. All that's out of school, and it's replaced with they're teaching about Muslim. I don't have anything against Muslims in general. I do in certain specific parts. And I honestly don't have a problem with people who are gay. The problem is they're trying to ram this down everybody's throat.
Right. Exactly. Right.
And it's the federal government. They run amok. We've allowed them to take over every aspect of our life. They listen to our phone calls. It's crazy. It's just out of control.
And what about the civil rights of the parents and the kids that don't want this?
Parents
what about their civil rights?
belong to families, and those are bad. Look at who was it that said, we can come into your home. We're now sharing parenting. Who was that?
Yeah, it was. I can't remember where that came from, but it was.
It's the federal government was going to do this.
Right. It was some. I can't remember if it was a committee. I think it was a committee issued some report about this is what we want to do in the future.
Yeah. Did you hear this?
It's kind of like the whole Hillary Clinton it takes a village type of thing.
They want to assign somebody. If you have a kid, they want to assign a federal worker
to
your family.
Yeah, they want to have a greater level of involvement. Have more kids analyzed by school psychiatrists, and come
this is
into
insanity.
your home, analyze your home environment, do home visits, make sure
that you're doing thus and so in your home because they don't think that the child is doing as well in school as they should be, and it stems from the way you're doing things.
And what I particularly liked about that was the wording they used. The wording they used said, "We'll share parenting with you." Like they're going to let you.
We're going to help you raise your child.
Yeah.
And like, just like Melissa Harris Perry said, we have to get away from this idea that parents own their children.
Yeah, I did hear. Need plumbing help right now? Be the very first person to go to radioplumbingdeals.com, fill out the radio discount request form, click submit, and get $129 worth of service for $39.95. That's radioplumbingdeals.com.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM560 The Answer with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
I'm not entirely certain that this may not be a self-correcting thing. Now, Gretchen, you just came across something interesting. It was Target, right?
Yeah, I'm sure most people have heard of the boycotts of Target, because Target is now basically sympathetically doing the same thing, voluntarily saying that transgender people can use whichever restroom they want to use, and probably fitting rooms too. And there's a boycott going on that I think over 1 million people have signed on to the boycott. But also their stock price has dropped precipitously in the last month or so. April 19th, it was at a high of $83.98. And as of this past Friday, it had dropped down to $68.66. And actually Thursday, the day before that, it was even lower. It was like $67 and change. So I think that Lisa and I were discussing during the break that because of the boycott, the stockholders, the shareholders, are feeling very uncomfortable with the long-term prospects for Target stock, and so they're getting rid of their stock to try to protect themselves from it dropping any farther. And that's what you're seeing, is that sell-off.
So it may be a self-correcting issue.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I hope that the AFA people, beat Ford and beat some of these other companies into submission on some of the other issues. I'm hoping that we can beat the Targets of the world into submission with our dollars, taking our dollars elsewhere. Unfortunately, if I shop elsewhere, Target will not know the difference, so it won't help much. I kicked my Target habit a few years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
There have been some videos on YouTube and on the internet and Facebook and so on. There are fathers who are not happy campers.
Right.
And there was the one, I think it was a Target or Walmart, where he was standing in front of the women's restroom, and for some reason they approached him. I'm not quite sure why. And he goes, "My daughter's in there. What are you doing here? Because if any guy tries to come in here, he's not getting past me." It may just be self-correcting. And the one thing I got to say that I particularly appreciate about this, while it's not a good thing, this may tip the scale in the election. Now you're hitting people. You're hitting people where it hurts. They're kids. This may actually make a real profound difference in the upcoming election. I want to see if the Democrats start running away from this shortly.
Well, and it's an interesting point you make, because I don't know that either one of the presumptive candidates presidential candidates have addressed this at all.
I've not heard a word.
And, probably, I'm sure their advisors are telling them, don't.
It's third rail.
Just stay away. Yeah, stay away from it. But yeah, if Trump did, it might help him.
Well, I think I did read that Trump did self-correct. I'm sure he got some advice, and he said that this should be a state matter.
That's right. He did say that, yeah.
And you know what? You're right. I do remember seeing that now. And a number of congressmen, including the Speaker of the House, not the one that, never mind, but the current Speaker of the House, we're not going to go there, said that. But I don't even, what state rights? What? So Illinois would. But what? Yeah. So a state just goes, by the way, starting tomorrow, your 14-year-old daughter may be visited in the job. That's not a state right. It's a family thing.
Right.
It's a personal right. The
and
state doesn't have a right to
should,
tell you that.
It should be sort of like the obscenity rule. It's the standards of the community.
Right.
And, if a community says this is our standard, then, it's very easy to move to the next community. If you live in Charlotte, North Carolina, where a lot of this started, it's very easy to move to the next town over and, leave all that behind you. But, moving state to state is also a possibility.
Well, one of the things that has risen in the past few months is there's a growing voice that pedophilia is, it's,
yes,
it's understandable.
Right. Should be a legitimate option.
Yeah. I like, I really like 5-year-old boys. I made a mistake last year on the gay marriage thing, right? And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. I've never had a problem with the concept of that, but it was pushed so hard, and it was the nose of the camel getting under the tent. That's literally, because as soon as that happened, I swear to you, this is not exaggeration. Somebody decided they were going to marry 2 women. Another guy was going to marry his dog.
Yes. Another guy wanted to marry his computer.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sympathetic to gays who want to have a meaningful relationship. I don't have a problem with that. But it was the nose of the camel. And look where this has gone in about a year. Look where we're at.
Right.
Pedophilia, well, that's, come on, you just have to understand it. This is like totally out of control. We're unweaving the fabric of society.
Right. You open Pandora's box, and now you can't put it back in.
It's exactly right. And I was wrong about that thing. I'm a big guy.
Well, I'm glad you can admit that you're too liberal for your own britches.
Okay, that's too far.
But yeah, I mean, I've got articles in front of me here. Obviously, there's North Carolina is suing the Department of Justice, and they're also getting countersued. And then Mississippi is opposing the transgender guidelines. Utah is opposing it. There's a lawsuit going on in Phoenix right now, sort of a preemptive strike against their saying that their ordinance is unconstitutional, that the businesses have to serve homosexuals. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of backlash.
Well, we didn't solve everything, but we're going to come back and wrap it all up, and maybe we'll solve something when we wrap it all up. I don't know. You never know.
There's always segment 6.
That's it. There's always segment 6. But we will be back after a few more messages to wrap it all up. And you're listening to AM560, The Answer. See how fast it goes?
Yeah, it does.
So you want to do that?
Yeah, that's 6 seconds. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. I'll ask you. As if I don't know. Larry Andel was what I was trying to point out. Did you read what he wrote about somebody went to his daughter to the bathroom when his daughter was there?
I thought you were saying about the camera going down. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw both of them.
Yeah.
Because we are...
I think fathers are part of the silent majority. They're out there and they're waiting with fists clenched.
Yeah.
They're just not talking about it.
Also addressing issues in
because that would be admissible in court.
Right? So there's the
related
resolution.
issues.
Yeah, related issues, right.
So,
did you want me to read his?
How long have you got?
Probably 2:15.
2:15. So you got about 1 minute. You got something to pitch?
I mean, before this 6.
This is our wrap up.
Okay, I wanted to give some examples of sexual predators, the crimes.
We know there's no more editorial.
What?
Well, we only have time to
We're
push
done.
the website.
All you're going to do is make a pitch.
Yeah.
Come to our website.
We only have a minute.
So we can do that in segment 6 if you want.
Yeah, we'll have to do
but there's
that.
no more editorial. This is the wrap up, and you got 1 minute.
Okay. All right.
So you got
1 minute. That's all I got.
That's it.
We got 30 seconds.
What?
Did you want me to read Larry's comment?
Right? Forgot her own.
Yep.
No, okay. Too late.
Who's still hanging on? He or she is.
She called back.
Oh,
because yeah.
I think she's drunk.
Did Lucy call back? Was that her only call?
Yeah, it says same comment again. I think she's drunk.
Oh.
She's probably listening on the internet. Now she'll be waiting in the parking lot.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
That's all right.
We're all never mind.
Here we go.
Are independent of Pro Equities Inc.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM560 The Answer with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
So how can people get a hold of you if they want to talk to you about this, if they have some issues?
That would be great. We'd really love people to contact us. Our website is www.pcpf.weebly.com. So it's PCPF, so that's Protect Children, Preserve Freedom. So if they could contact us, we could let them know what's going on. We are lobbying in Springfield for Senate Resolution 7 against Senate Resolution 1752, and we're also opposed to House Bill 6073. So Cedra and I are going to be heading to Springfield on Tuesday.
James, are we doing segment 6 then?
We are going to do 7-6. We're going to keep talking about this and talk more about the voice of the students.
So we'll get a chance to hear what students have actually said about this.
Stand by. Here's Gretchen with your action items for the week.
From the Illinois State Rifle Association, HB 1016, the Gun Dealer Licensing Act, is a bad bill that is being considered by the Illinois House right now. Thank you to those who acted and filled out 4,867 witness slips opposing the bill. However, on Tuesday, May 17th, HB 1016 made it out of the Judiciary Committee on a 9-6 vote. Now the fight goes to the floor of the Illinois House of Representatives. If HB 1016 does get signed into law, the immediate effect will be the closing of most gun shops in the state. The cost of complying with HB 1016 will add at least $100 to $200 to the price of any gun you buy at the shops that remain open. Ammunition will also skyrocket in price. While the bill did not get stopped in committee, the resounding opposition to the bill will be noted by legislators. Now is the time to call your legislators and tell them that you oppose HB 1016. I put this on Facebook earlier today with a link to help you find your representative. Mark your calendars and plan to join On Target Radio at the NRA Day Open House at the ISRA Range in Bondfield on Saturday, June 18th. The following Safer USA classes are at our facility in Waterman. Saturday, May 28th, Tactical Pistol 1 and 2, taught by David. Saturday and Sunday, June 4th and 5th, and June 11th and 12th, Illinois Concealed Carry 1. This 16-hour class will be taught by David and Gretchen and meets the training requirements for Illinois Concealed Carry, as well as Florida, Arizona, and Utah. Sunday, June 12th, Introduction to Shotgun Shooting, taught by Pat and Nancy Donaldson. To sign up for classes, go to saferusa.com and click on Register.
There you go. It's been an interesting show.
Yes.
I don't know. Well, in segment 6, we'll kind of kick around some more thoughts on this subject. So be sure you stay tuned for segment 6. Jim, how do they listen to segment 6?
Head over to our YouTube channel, On Target Radio.
See how simple that is? On Target Radio on YouTube. Technology. I don't understand. It works. That's all I care about. Otherwise, it's a tough subject. And I don't know where it's all going. I've never heard of a president that has been able to have such a profound impact on a society, on this country, in such a short period of time. And we've talked about this many times. We've said he started out saying, I will change America, and he did exactly what he said he was going to do. It's just that people didn't quite interpret what he meant.
Some people didn't know what he meant by that.
Yeah. Anyway.
I did.
We'd like to thank Cedric Crenshaw and Lisa Reidinger for taking the time to be on our show tonight. And we'd like to thank you for listening to On Target Radio. Be sure to listen next week when Gretchen and I will be discussing more red meat issues that affect your life.
We'd also like to thank George Hoffman on the board, Jim Ekstrand, our video producer, and our sponsors, the Will County Grassroots Division of the ISRA, Schrank Smoke and Gun, the Illinois State Rifle Association, the Aurora Sportsman's Club, and Safer USA.
And be sure to switch on over to YouTube and go to On Target Radio and watch segment 6. It's going to be real interesting this evening. And as always, I want to thank Michael for making all of this happen.